Hey guys, and welcome to the Geek Box. Hey guys, welcome to another video, and this week we'll be doing for our top 10, the top 10 games that need to come out right now on the PsVR. So let's start off the list then. In at number 10, you've got Call of Duty. Well, more specifically, Call of Duty World War II. Now, obviously, this is a game that, for me, as I said in the video when I reviewed the game, was actually the game that brought me back to the Call of Duty series. It had such a great impact on the series and bringing a lot of people in that were really put off by the futuristic elements brought in by Infinite Warfare, etc. And obviously, well, leading on from Advanced Warfare, that I think being able to put World War II or even a new game but still set to that older style era for Call of Duty, dropping that into the VR environment would really take it to a whole new level. So for me, it's definitely a game we've got to get at some point set on the VR. In at number 9, L.A. Noire. Now, for those that have played L.A. Noire, whether it be the original version or the HD remakes that they've just brought out, they'll know that this is a very in-depth and compelling game. Obviously, the main element to it is the fact that you're looking for evidence on sites, you're questioning people, looking for their hand movements, their facial movements. It's a fantastic system they built for the game. Now, if you're able to do this in VR, it'll be a totally different experience. Obviously, being right there in the room as Phelps and being able to look the person right in the face whilst you're questioning them, be able to look around crime scenes for things directly, being able to move yourself around, the VR would just add an amazing element to this game. Or even if they created another game as a sequel to L.A. Noire instead, that would be just as amazing to see that all unveiled right there in the world you're actually sat in. In at number 8, The Sims, because, well, The Sims is part of obviously the simulation series that EA created. Obviously you've had theme parks and you've had The Sims themselves, and then of course the original Master Sim City. But quite frankly, if you were able to build your own house and these environments and interact with the environments, which is already fantastic to do on The Sims, especially the latest installment, Sims 4, they really went much more in depth with it. But I think being able to actually go down into that world yourself and see your creation and look around inside the world that you've created around you and the characters you've created, it would just add something magical to the game as a whole. Obviously, I know The Sims isn't everyone's choice because of the fact that there's a lack of action and things like that inside it. But as a game element, dropping it into that VR world, I think it create a whole new genre of that people would really get into and really immerse themselves in that world that they have created around them. In at number 7, Shadow of the Colossus. Well, what else can we say about this? Obviously, it's just come out as a remake as well. It's one of the most beautiful games I personally think that's ever been crafted for the console. Obviously, everything in that game looks amazing to begin with. If they could do a successful port of that game into the VR unit, just imagining what it'd be like to be there and to look up at the gigantic Colossus as well, right there in that actual world, it would be absolutely mind-blowing. And in at number 6, Shadow of War. Now, see, the Middle-earth series has created 2 amazing games, both Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War. The reason I picked Shadow of War out of the 2 of them is because it's just, there's much more to that game that they put in there, I think, and obviously it's been a more enjoyable one, the 2 for me. Obviously, to be able to get there in VR and traverse around Middle-earth and really get into things and how beautiful the visuals are, and actually, if you had the motion controllers, be able to swing your sword and hold your hand up, etc. It would just add a whole new depth to that game and take it from a game that I personally marked as like a 9 out of 10 game on average, and really bring it up to that perfect number because you could just get so lost inside it. And the parts of the game that sometimes can be repetitive, I find repetitiveness is a lot less frequent in VR because you're so immersed in what you're doing, it doesn't feel as it's so repetitive. So obviously, for me, an amazing game to see taken to the next level, and it's a game that we need. And, well, in at number 5, an absolute huge personal favourite of mine, Assassin's Creed. Now for me, Assassin's Creed has got so many great things going for it. It obviously went through a rough period when it broke into new gen, but seeing the great success that Origins has found, and hopefully the next game will find as well, improving further on the changes that they made, bringing it into the VR world would be something absolutely magical to me as far as I'm concerned, because, well, imagine doing a leap of faith or jumping off a roof and assassinating somebody, or even just flying past and using your bow to take an enemy down and then turning around and stabbing the next one. In VR, the whole experience would become something else, and that is what it would become. As with a lot of VR games, they go from being games to being experiences, and that's the magic for me of the VR when it's done properly. So Assassin's Creed, whether, like I said, a remake of Origins or a new game altogether, would be a fantastic addition to have dropped into the VR world. And in at number 4, The Last of Us. Now, this is one of the PlayStation exclusive classics. So much so, it was remade and did just as well when it got remade as well. There's a lot of people that already played it and completed it wanted to do it again in a rebuilt world. And basically, as you follow Joel and Ellie's journey, it's just a great journey to follow. The story is so rich and beautiful, and so the environment. So to actually be able to go into that world is both a mixture of joy to enjoy this environment and fear, because as you know, some of the enemies that are involved in The Last of Us really are not the friendliest and nicest things to be around. But it would be pretty cool to be face to face with a clicker when you have to fight one of them. So that has to be one of the top games to be brought into the VR world when possible. And in at number 3, Bioshock. Now, obviously the obvious choice for Bioshock would be Infinite, as it's the last one that was made. It's one of the best graphics. It had the most gripping storyline that a lot of people vote for. But for me, I'd love to see any one of the 3, or if not all 3, come to VR in the future. I'd love to see the first Bioshock dropped in now. Obviously, it would be somewhat graphically impaired, even for the HD remake. But one of the great things about Bioshock is it's got a long life, it's got an amazing story, it's got amazing gameplay to it. And as we saw when they transferred Skyrim over to VR, you can take older games and make them in VR and make them something beautiful. And for me, I just find that even just that moment first going into Rapture would be something absolutely phenomenal if you could be there in the VR world enjoying it. And in at number 2, well, Hitman. Now when I say Hitman, I mean Hitman 2016 or a brand new Hitman game. Now I know Hitman wasn't everyone's cup of tea. For me, in the VR world, the limits they basically don't apply in Hitman, based on what we've seen so far for games, shooting games, puzzle games, etc. inside the VR world. Just about having control of that entire world around you to create those accidents and those assassinations, it would be something absolutely magical. I think one of the base ideas I discussed earlier actually was the fact that sometimes when you're playing Hitman, you want to shoot a target through rails, etc. You have to move round to the bottom of the stairs, or you've got trying to look around, you've got to play around the camera. In the VR world, all that would disappear. For one, you'd be able to, with the railing, lean over and just shoot down with your pistol instead, using the motion controls, etc. And secondly, you'd be able to actually pivot your head around and look at your environment in much more detail and really plan out an assassination worth watching. So the only game that I can think that I would really want to have right now for the PsVR is our number 1, Metal Gear Solid 5. Now, for those that have played Metal Gear Solid 5, they know it was a take from the norm. I personally loved all the Metal Gear games. Even Metal Gear Solid 2, when they did the switcheroo, took me a bit of an adjustment, but I still fell in love with it in the end. But Metal Gear Solid 5 became an open world where you could do so many things, and lots of side missions as well. Obviously people split on what they wanted with it, but I think everybody would come together if they put it into VR mode, had access to that entire world, and you can be right there in Afghanistan or wherever you're travelling as Big Boss. You know, it would be an experience within an experience. And especially with the new edition of Metal Gear Survive, if that was available in there as well, again, it would truly turn into something as an artwork, and I believe be one of the best games that could ever land on the market, just for that pure experience and all the variety that comes with it. Well, that's my top 10 for games that I want to see on the VR. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you agree with my list, or have you got games that you'd like to see in the VR that you think would hit the top 10? And as always, stay subscribed and keep up to date on all the latest content and the competitions that are coming up very, very soon. And thanks for watching, guys. Well, thanks for watching the video, guys. And if you want to see more content from the channel, you can join some of the videos here. On the top there, you've got a video that's one of our latest videos, and on the bottom there, picked by YouTube just for you. And if you want to stay up to date on all the latest content and subscribe into our competitions, hit the subscribe button there in the middle and it'll sort you out.